Hey everyone, my name is Faina and welcome back to my channel. It's finally here, the moment we've all been waiting for, or at least I've been waiting for, summer. Even though I'm not in school anymore, I still associate summer with vacation. When people think of summer and summer vacation, we think of going to the beach, spending days at the pool, just pretty much basking under the sun. But I'm thinking we should shake things up a bit and go to some more unique places in the world. And let's face it, us book lovers, we don't have to travel the world because we have books. There was a show that I used to watch called Once Upon a Time, and there was a quote there that really stood out to me. We may sit in our library and yet be in all quarters of the earth. Once I heard that, it really stuck with me, and I thought, hey, why don't we find bookish places, unique places to travel in the world? I have spent some time searching through the internet and finding unique places for readers to go visit. I initially wanted to rank these places from least to best in terms of like how bad I want to visit them, and then I thought all of them are so unique and different from one another that I can't rank them. I also want to put a little disclaimer. There are probably hundreds of other places, even thousands of places in the world that readers would like to go visit, but it's just these are the ones that I had chosen because in my opinion, they stood out the most. The first place we are going to visit is Buenos Aires. The place we're visiting is called El Ateneo Grand Splendid. What's so unique about this bookstore? Let me tell you. This used to be a grand theater. I'm talking about a gorgeous opera house, and it's been transformed into a bookstore. One thing though is you need to book kind of like a reservation ahead of time because it does tend to get crowded, so you do need to book a time period where you guys can go visit. This theater was built originally in the year 1919. A whole decade later, this theater was actually transformed into a cinema. This cinema became the very first place in Buenos Aires that showed films with sound. Over time, there was talk about demolition of this gorgeous theater. A man by the name of, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, of Adolfo de Vincenzi. He actually owns a chain of bookstores called El Ateneo. As a result, we have this grand theater that has turned into a bookstore. What I love about this, besides it being a gorgeous bookstore, is that the opera boxes, you know, where elites usually would go and sit to have a great view of the show, now have these plush chairs, great views, a little bit of secrecy. It's very cozy and you can just sit there with your books and just enjoy. The next place we are visiting is Rio de Janeiro. And what's there, you may ask? We have the Royal Portuguese Cabinet of Reading. This beautiful institution was founded in 1837 by Portuguese immigrants and political refugees who wanted to promote their Portuguese community in what was then the capital of the Empire of Brazil. Highlighting the incredible history and beautiful architecture, Times Magazine actually listed this library to be 4th place among the 20 most beautiful libraries in the world, which this article came out in July of 2014. If I lived there, I honestly think I would be visiting every single day because I feel like it would be such a secluded, quiet area just to go and get your work done. And if I was a student, I feel like just going there would be motivation enough for me to be productive in my studies. Speaking of studies, our next destination is actually in Dublin. We will be visiting the Trinity College. If I went to Trinity College, I probably would have gotten straight A's because look at this incredible library. This was actually founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth, and it's the oldest library in Ireland. Speaking of old libraries and vintage antique books, I actually read an article recently that talked about emerald book covers. Centuries ago, to make that stunning emerald green that we know on those vintage books, it was actually made with a pigment that contained arsenic. However, recent studies have shown that there are still trace amounts of arsenic there. A few people actually went to their local bookstore and found some kind of antique $15 book that they bought, and when they did tests on it, there were actually traces of arsenic on the cover. Libraries around the world are separating those books from their main collections just for the safety of people and the staff. No, I'm not telling you this to scare you, but I was just blown away after reading that article. Moving back to the stunning architecture of this library, I'm not the only one who thought it was beautiful. Let me tell you a very interesting fact. Have you by any chance watched Star Wars? Well, this library might seem a little familiar to you. There was a rumor that the Jedi archives were actually modeled after this specific library. I read an article dating back to the year 2002 where Trinity College wanted legal advice on whether or not to press charges on George Lucas. The reason they wanted to take action is because there was no permission granted to use the library as a model for those Jedi archives. However, the case was dropped because George Lucas said that it was untrue that there is any connection between the scene in Attack of the Clones and Trinity College. The Jedi Archives room was inspired by a variety of real-world libraries, including the Vatican and those found in Old English estates. We are now making our way to the next destination, which is in Prague. And the place we're visiting is the Strahov Monastery. This monastery was actually founded in the year 1143. Now, for us readers, we're actually focusing on a specific part of the monastery, and that is called the Baroque Theological Hall. And this hall was established in around 1679. Can we insert the joke, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it? All right, I literally did not have to do that. But I added this hall here because the architecture in itself is quite beautiful. The frescoes that are painted on the ceilings were just too incredible to leave off of this list. These frescoes actually date back to the 18th century. If you're visiting Prague and you as a reader want to go visit a beautiful, unique place, this monastery is the way to go. If you're a person who's more interested in like the modern side of things rather than the historical, we need to fly to China for that. I will say, I think I'll be adding this place to the top of my bucket list, and please forgive me if I don't pronounce this area correctly. The bookstore we're going to is Zhongshuge. Let's take a look inside of this stunning bookshop. First of all, the floors have black mirrors and the shelves are arched, and this creates an illusion of like an infinite tunnel of books. On top of that, the zigzagging gap that you see where the shelves don't touch, the reflection on the floor makes this like lightning bolt shape, and I read that it represents a river that makes visitors want to like go deeper into the building because it looks like an infinite river that you want to follow. Now let me show you the children's room of this bookshop. It's a dream come true for any kid that loves to read books. I think I would just, as a parent, would bring my children here just to visit, to read books, and plus the place looks so cool. The colors are very vibrant in this room. You have all these different shapes, and it even depicts a night sky on the ceiling. But don't worry, there's still a wonderful place for adults to go and read. This reading room has like curvy furniture. The architecture is so unique. It has a very futuristic feel to it, and like it's as if I was on a spaceship and I'm like traveling to Mars, and if this spaceship had a library, it would look exactly like this. Overall, definitely a bucket list visit. Let us head on over to Japan because they have a place called the Book and Bed. This place is not a hotel, nor is it like a bed and breakfast kind of place. It's actually called a hostel. I have actually only recently learned about hostels, and you technically rent a bed versus renting like a room. In other words, there aren't private rooms for individual guests. Instead, it can be like one giant mutual room, and then you have multiple beds there. And some places offer maybe like drapes or something in order to give you some privacy. But in general, it's a shared space and you have multiple people that will sleep there. One of the purposes of this is for travelers to go and get to know other travelers. This place is quite large and it houses about 4,000 books. As a traveler who loves to read, I think this is a wonderful opportunity to go out and meet other travelers who love to read. You basically have small bedding that's scattered around, and you have these drapes that give you privacy, of course, but you have this general area where you get to hang out and read with other travelers. and I think that's quite a unique experience for readers specifically. We are wrapping up our little vacation in Portugal. Our final destination is Livraria, Lello, and Irmão. And again, my apologies if I am not pronouncing this correctly, but I want to really show off this stunning bookstore. This bookstore was built in 1906 by the Lello brothers. It is quite an ornate bookstore because we're mixing up different architectures like neo-Gothic. This wonderful bookstore contains carved wood ceilings, a stained glass roof, and this red staircase that, in my opinion, is like the centerpiece of this bookstore. If you're a literature lover, these are only a few places in the world that I would say for you to add to your bucket list. Now that summer is upon us, maybe you'll actually add this to your summer vacation itinerary. If you're planning on visiting any of the places below, please leave a comment down below, because if there's a way for you guys to like share pictures or something, I would love to see them. Maybe on like Instagram, you can shoot a message, because all of these places listed are on my travel bucket list. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see some 5-star book predictions for 2022, click on this video right here. Thanks again for joining me in my small corner of bookish paradise.